And we are live. Hopefully. Let's see if everything is working today with Pulse Audio. No, hopefully. How you doing, George? Good morning.
Good morning.
Or depending on where everyone is in the world, good afternoon, good evening. Got my morning cup of coffee here, trying to wake up a little bit. It's like Willie is here too. He's trying to get his stuff.
Morning.
Good morning. No,
We are live.
And everybody has working audio. Very cool. And we've got Yeslin is joining us now. And for those of you hanging out in the YouTube chat with us this morning, give us a yay or a nay on the audio. Mainly just because I'm not monitoring the YouTube chat, as far as the YouTube stream, that is. I have had weird situations where I was recording my audio, but not the desktop audio, which is all of your guys' audio. Or vice versa, where they can hear, either me, but not everybody else, or they can hear everybody else, but not me. Yeah, everything looks good. Yeah, good morning, fellow coffee fans. Yeah. My first cup. I may have to get a second one before the stream is done today. Right.
The audio sounds good on the YouTube.
Ah, cool. Yeah, the one thing with the live streams, I never monitor the stream. So I never know how the audio is going without asking. Maybe I should fix that at some point and actually start listening to what's going on YouTube. And looks like we've got Murray joining the chat as well. All right. Yeah, when is the Spectre WM video coming up? Well, I was going to do Window Maker first. Probably going to do that Window Maker video this week. Maybe in the next couple of days.
Window Maker is pretty decent.
Yeah, and then after I get through with Window Maker, I'm going to do something with Spectre WM. So that was the plan. I actually thought about doing it this weekend, but I've been making a lot of content, videos every day. I was getting kind of tired, so didn't do anything yesterday. I'm not going to do anything today other than this chat. And then I've got a video planned for tomorrow that I'm going to record. It's not the Window Maker video, but then probably Tuesday, I think I'm going to sit down and make the Window Maker stuff. And then a week or two after that, I'll take a look at Spectre WM. I'm going to play around with Window Maker for a little bit, though.
Yeah, good old next step.
Yeah. I've looked at it a little bit. I haven't done too much with Window Maker yet because I wanted to do, a lot of the early stuff, me first checking it out on camera.
You know what? I haven't checked out Spectre. I'm going to take a look at the screenshots of that right now. Oh, interesting. It's tiling.
Yeah. Well, from what people have told me about that one is it's a Xmonad clone written in C. So if you're familiar with how Xmonad works, as far as how it handles workspaces and multi-monitors and things, it's very similar. It's just written in a different language. Which some people have a problem with Haskell, I guess. Yeah. I don't know why, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of of the thing. Hey, if it works for its purpose, why not? Right?
Well, the problem is you have to get into that config file, and
yeah,
like Haskell. Where do you even begin, right?
Haskell's just close to saying hassle.
Yeah. So. Yeah, does LBRY broadcast? If you're talking about live streaming, I don't believe LBRY has any kind of live streaming function yet. It would be great if you could.
Yeah, that would be interesting considering how it's federated in downloads. Yeah, everybody streaming.
How would you do that with peer-to-peer? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something they probably need to work out at some point. to get people off of things like YouTube and Twitch, and
Has anyone moved over, or I mean, I seriously doubt anybody in the open source world has moved over to that Microsoft live streaming platform that they've been trying to get people off of Twitch and YouTube for.
First I've heard of it.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called at the moment.
Yeah. But I mean, the minute you said Microsoft, yeah, of course not, right?
Right.
Like I don't need to hear anything else.
It sounded in my head as it came out.
But yeah, I'm gonna switch to a view here where the folks in the YouTube chat can see my browser. Yeah, library's been great. It's like as of this morning, I got 4,000 followers over on library, which is pretty cool.
Have you tried to upload the longer videos to see if it would, because I know you had an issue with the longer videos for that
yes,
batch upload. Did you try it individually and had any success?
Yes, I can individually upload something if I need to, and I have done that at least once. So
okay, so that does work at least. Okay.
Because one of the live streams I did, it was probably last month's patrons chat, because these things go about 2 hours. It didn't look like it was going to sync that, so I just manually downloaded it myself and uploaded it.
Hello.
How you doing, Big Pod?
How's my
good
sound?
Everything is good.
How are you guys doing?
Pretty good. Looks like I am the 19th most popular channel on library as of today.
Nice.
Yeah. And more people are getting on libraries. I see more and more channels joining every day, and we got to keep pushing the YouTube alternatives. Yeah, I saw the switch to Linux video. Somebody in the chat was saying about Tom getting off a library because there was too much porn on it. Which, yeah, I've come across some videos on it. I mean, they're supposed to be marked as adult, when you upload. But even though people are supposed to mark that stuff as mature content, that doesn't mean everybody does. It's also a problem with the way search works on library, because you're supposed to add tags to your videos. I don't have to worry about that because I have tags in YouTube, and it imports the YouTube tags for my videos. But you don't necessarily have to put tags on your videos that make any sense.
I don't know too much about it, but does the library take the words that are in your title and consider it tags too, or do you have to put the tags, keyword, so to speak?
I don't think you have to add any tags necessarily. It'll probably add some for you, but if you go to the trouble of adding your own tags, I mean, you can put tags there that are in no way related to your video. And
yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at, because maybe if you have your title is just enough,
right? Yeah, and then when people are searching, for this topic that has nothing to do with your video, but your video is in the search results because you added that tag, that's a problem that library is working on. They're working on that. They're working on the comment spam, trying to get creators the ability to actually moderate a little bit of the comments.
A lot of the systems with library are quite difficult to do because of its what's it called?
Yeah,
its distributed nature.
Yeah,
and especially systems like after upload transcodes. Those stuff will be hard to do because not many will want to give
up their bandwidth so we can transcode
that bandwidth and that much power of their systems. Okay, storage, that and little bit of upload, okay, but not 100% for hours and hours a day.
I can imagine too that if you have somebody who tags it or who has comment, and if it travels with that video, then what if you somehow get 95% of all of the videos get updated, but then is there anything to prevent it from going backwards and then redoing it because it says, oh, there's 5% here. Maybe this is a change. And then it goes back through and renames everything again. Or does it stay static on whenever it gets downloaded, that it stops there and it doesn't sync anymore?
You're talking about like when you're uploading the video?
Yeah, let's say if you upload the video and then let's say you change the title or you change something about it, how does it update all the videos that have been downloaded since then?
I've never tried to actually go back and edit like the title or a description or anything. I've never actually played with that. I'm not sure how quickly that stuff gets done.
Because I can imagine at some point in time it'll just stop syncing with people, and then somebody will have that old video sitting somewhere.
But because of it's decentralized and distributed, I'm assuming I can't just go change a title of a video and it instantly be changed. Surely that's not possible. It would.
Yeah, I don't know.
It would probably take hours, if not days, for the changes to appear.
Right.
Yeah.
Assuming so that it does.
Yeah. Right.
Because we don't know. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like they say that me taking down my videos, I have that ability, but there's no guarantee that I can even remove my videos if I wanted to. All right.
I think I've heard somebody else, like it might have been Lundig or something, that says that it's out there. Like once you put it there, it stays out there. Maybe it was somebody else. I don't know.
Well, I mean, once I put it out there on the platform, anybody. I mean, it's the same thing with YouTube. I mean, anybody can download the video, even if I delete it. I mean, there's going to be copies out there.
Right.
So you never can get rid of anything once you put it out there in the public. And that's just the facts. Also, LBRY has a feature where people can repost videos. It's kind of like a retweet feature, where if you like one of my videos and you have a LBRY channel, you can just post it on your channel. Now somebody's asking for a link to Discord. I don't really hang out in Discord. I don't know the link to my Discord offhand, or if it even works. Check the show description. I might have a link there. I log into Discord 3-4 times a year, maybe. But I do have a Discord channel. I don't know what's going on in it right now. May not be a great place to hang out.
It's probably not too bad. I mean, I'm sure it's probably much better than some others that are out there.
No. Peter in the chat saying the Arch Wiki is the best source for Arch. Yeah, the Arch Wiki is probably the best source for Ubuntu and Fedora and SUSE.
Yeah, probably for aliens.
Yeah.
Arch Wiki is the best.
I hear from folks all the time, actually, because I'm always pulling up the Arch Wiki in my videos. And sometimes they'll tell me, hey, man, I use the Arch Wiki for everything, and I've never run Arch.
Yeah.
You know?
A lot of people complain about it, but it is quite detailed in some stuff, in most stuff. So sometimes you gotta know how to remove craft from signal noise ratio and all that. Sometimes too much detail is bad.
Oh yeah, I had that experience with pass-through wiki type pages, but Arch is pretty well laid out, and it's easy to find, and it's kind of organized very well, and they've done a good job over the last 16 years that Arch has been around.
Well, some pages are so well written and just a couple of paragraphs straight to the point, and then some pages, like look up the bootloader page on the Arch Wiki. And
it's probably like a PhD dissertation.
And it's like a novel. And I mean, you would go blind trying to read that thing.
Oh, man.
It's like, man, I just want to know how to remake my grub config. Yeah, where's the line for that?
Grub is still one of the things that if that gets blown up, I just reinstall. It's like, it's not worth the heartburn.
I actually have a separate install of Ubuntu that does grub for him, because I so hate setting up grub Archway. I separately afterwards install Ubuntu and then use that as a grab.
Yeah.
Is with EFI the way that it is grub even necessary anymore?
I don't know. I've
Yes,
never.
it is. Yes, you need some sort of bootloader.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whether it is
Yeah, but
systemd
systemd
bootloader,
can.
whether it is grab, whether it's systemd boot, whether it is grab, it's no matter. Basically, some type of bootloader needs to be, because bootloader tells.
But systemd can be your
Linux.
bootloader. It can be your init system.
Yes.
It can run your cron jobs.
Everything.
Pretty soon, it's going to sync your home directory. Systemd is everything, Big Pod.
Yeah.
It'll ask you if you want to adjust your temperature in your house if you have a connected house.
Systemd is now your network manager. I forgot about that one.
I had an autocomplete in Python that needed systemd.
FS file.
Uh-oh, we've got some buffering going on with Big Pod. What was that? We didn't hear that last one.
Systemd can replace your fstab
Yeah?
file. Yeah, Linux does that.
Pretty soon, we're just going to switch to GNU/systemd. So
I had a Python IDE autocomplete feature that required systemd on it.
Huh. Well, I guess we've got so much other stuff that requires systemd that probably shouldn't, like GNOME. Does GNOME still have that hard dependency for systemd?
I don't know, but I believe it is used somewhere in GNOME that it would be a lot harder to do for every init system, where it's just for systemd, basically, because it's
Right. I mean, I know
run by Red Hat.
Yeah, I mean, I know that like the Gentoo guys, they hack on GNOME to get it to work with OpenRC.
I believe they have to remove some features and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Basically, I believe you can set some stuff about systemd in your your GNOME. It's like people say, why Snap needs systemd?
Yeah. Hey, Big Pod.
Just make a lot of code.
Big Pod, the chat is saying your mic is a little low, so if you can bring up the volume just a tad.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Let me see.
It sounded fine, me, but again, I'm not previewing the YouTube chat. It sounds fine, me just listening to you in Zoom, but the guys on YouTube are hearing, some different stuff.
Yeah, it looks like Gentoo is using the OpenRC init system for that. Yeah.
Right. And they have
Would
GNOME.
that be any better?
Yeah. Yeah, you're quite a bit louder now, Big Pod. Yeah, so I'm going to switch back to the browser for a second. Since the last time we did this chat a month ago, I was just looking at some of the videos I've done, because we had some interesting topics. A couple of the topics that were interesting, I did a couple of videos about how to make your reinstalling a little faster by using things like package lists with your package manager, and with moving like your home directory or whatever directory you want to move to a second drive. And, some people, I guess, had some questions and comments about that. It's like anything else in Linux. There is a dozen different ways to skin a cat. Like you can, like moving that home directory to that second drive. Yeah, I could have, instead of rsync and, moving everything, I could have done something with symbolic links. People were saying, this is the way I manage it. This is the way, Yeah, there's always more than one way to do everything in Linux.
Sure.
But do you guys use any of that kind of stuff? Do you keep a list of packages for reinstall? Do you keep a reinstall script? Do you put everything on a second, third, fourth drive to, make your...
Yes, I do. I do it manually. Every time I install a package on a system, I put it in a list and keep track of it manually, and then I use the list on the second drive when I go to install it.
Oh.
I've got about 100 and some odd packages that way.
Yeah. One of the things people were telling me about, they manage things with like symbolic linking, their directories all over the place to these various drives. I hate doing stuff with linking, because when that stuff breaks, it can be a real pain. Yeah. It's the same thing with dot files. People sometimes manage their dot files by just symlinking them. And I've tried that. And when those symlinks get messed up, it is just a pain in the rear end. Like, no more symlinks, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a rat's nest.
Yeah. Because when you have 200, 300, 500 symlinks, it's just too much.
I've had an issue with backups, and I think symlinks were the issue, because when I would remote connect into a machine to copy stuff off, a drive that's, you know, a couple hundred gigs reports as 1 terabyte or 1 petabyte or something like that, and so that becomes a hassle with backing up.
Yeah, I didn't consider that.
Yeah, it's really weird until you see it for yourself. It's like reporting 1 petabyte. Yeah, it's like, whoa.
Because the symlinks, they don't report the right size.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the argument with snap packages is what's the real size of the snap pack? Because when you're looking at it, if you're looking at like the mount points, you would think it's huge, but those packages are not that big.
only Canonical knows.
They are. They are few hundred megs. They are depending on what you throw in there.
Yeah.
Don't. It's a mess.
AppImage is the size of the overhead for the AppImage is 400K.
Yeah.
The rest of it is all your payload.
Well, we should ask Alan Pope, since he's in the YouTube chat right now. Good morning, Alan. He says he doesn't do a reinstall script because he doesn't ever reinstall his OS because he uses it. Shots fired there.
Actually, that's a good point. I think he had a tweet a few days ago or in last week where it said something about his having an install that was like over 5 years old or something like that.
Wow.
That's impressive.
I wouldn't know what to do with a 5-year-old install. I've had this installation of Arco has been running now for 9, maybe 10 months. And that's so long, I've actually thought about needing to reinstall. I may put Arco back on here, but just to clean up the system. Like, I got so much stuff on here now. I've installed so many packages doing the YouTube channel. It's like, maybe I should start with a clean install. It's not like anything's broken. It's just sometimes it's good just to wipe everything out and start fresh.
Well, what I usually do is that when I install a new one is that I usually install packages as I need them, because if I install a whole bunch of stuff, I may not use something and kind of be like, well, that might be a waste of space, or I no longer use that program. So I don't keep a list like I would, let's say a Windows install for, professional stuff that I have to do, or, the Linux personal stuff. I just install, as I go, as I need it.
Yeah.
So.
Same, and at the end, it's a huge mess of things.
Yeah, but it's so nice when you have a fresh install and everything's kind of peppy and just it's got that new car smell. I don't know.
What about using a utility like that Stacer or something like that to clear out some of that? I think that helps to clean out some garbage, right?
Yeah, it does.
I don't trust those programs.
BleachBit.
Yeah. BleachBit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll clean up about 300 megabytes at a time.
And the other day, when I made that video on the Yay AUR helper, I showed everybody a command, Yay space -Y lowercase c, which is supposed to get rid of some of the unwanted dependencies on your system. And people were like, is that thing safe? Well, I mean, I would look at the list of the packages it's going to uninstall. And if something looks weird, cancel the command. But I mean, like when I ran it the other day on video, it wanted to remove a bunch of Python libraries, and none of those look like anything needed by any of the programs I currently run. So, and I've run that command several times in the past. It's never broken my system. So, but again, when you run these kinds of commands or run things like BleachBit or Stacer, look at the list of things they're going to remove before you just blindly click OK. If it's going to remove go ahead.
Can Yay update packages like you can with Pacman?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
hey, what's the fun in, you know, clicking things that you don't know?
Yeah.
There's no fun in not doing that.
Well, I mean, you always could run into a situation where it's going to remove something that's not necessarily an unwanted dependency, like the Linux kernel. Yeah, right.
Yeah. 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 Oh, well, you know, when I would use the abandoned package removal tool or something in Mint years ago, it was, I kind of thought, well, why do I want to do this? But then it kind of made sense. And then it's like, okay, until that first thing breaks. And then you're like, okay, never again.
Got a question about Arch and Python.
Okay.
Last year, when you updated, they updated Python from 3.6 to 3.7, it broke quite a few things.
Yep.
This year, it seemed to work okay without breaking anything. Is that your observation as well?
I didn't have any issues. I don't know.
Not only that, it updated point release as well, automatically and transparently.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other distros that are updated to 3.8? I don't think there's anything other than Arch as the latest.
Well, Arch is typically going to be ahead of everybody. Even other rolling release distros, Arch seems to be a little quicker putting that stuff out than, say, Gentoo, which sometimes takes a little longer.
But Debian doesn't update, period, and neither do the Ubuntu's, right?
Well,
so I think the only distro with Python 3.8 would be an Arch distro.
Well, right now, of course, Debian.
Something like that, yeah.
Debian SID, is the rolling branch. I don't know what they're on, and Ubuntu obviously follows that, so they would be whatever Debian Unstable would be on. But yeah, Arch. I've noticed Arch typically is first putting these things out, which can be a good thing in some situations, and it can be a bad thing in some situations. So.
I had to install Python 3.8 manually on my Debian 9 system.
Mm-hmm.
The config, make, install in the /shopt.
Yeah.
But it doesn't update to point release. You have to reinstall it again every point release.
Yeah.
But it works.
Yeah.
It's not like the Arch. That's one big plus for Arch.
Yeah, Alan in the chat is saying Ubuntu 20.04 is on 3.8.2, the release candidate. So I would imagine Debian SID is already there too. So they're already on 3.8.
I'm looking forward to Ubuntu 20.04 for ZFS on it. Does Alan know what they were doing with ZFS? Is it been integrated into Grub and other features yet, or is that still in progress?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe Alan can let us know in the chat about ZFS. Are we going to start using that by default? Is that what everybody's looking forward to?
I am.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm one of these people that I resist change so much. Extend4 has just been so stable for me over the years. I hate to. Like every now and then I'll play with another file system. I see what Btrfs is all about. But I like on my main production machine, just everything is Extend4. On the laptops, I don't care. I'll play around with whatever. So.
Well, it's working for you. There's no need to change on it. But I use it and it's saved my bacon several times.
That's another thing about the putting all your stuff on a second drive, like a home directory or something. People were like, hey, man, if you're going to have all these extra drives in your machine, why are you formatting them to Extend4? You could do something like NTFS or FAT32 or, one of the Windows file systems. Like,
just make a separate box and use an NFS.
Right. I mean, Big Pod, you would never format a drive to NTFS on a Linux box, would you?
I would. USB drives that are used with.
Okay, that counts.
Windows and Linux, because
we'll give you that one.
And I have one drive formatted as NTFS, and that is used for that I use between Linux and Windows. And for that is better than anything else, because files on there are bigger than 4 gigs, so FAT32 falls out completely, EXTs fall out completely, so what is left?
No. Yeah, so ZFS won't be default in 2004, but it's available and is an option still, says Alan. Yeah.
Nice.
I think we need to start pushing it as the default, though. It's time. Whatever happened to Btrfs, though? I mean, that was supposed to be the next big thing. 5 years ago, that was, OpenSUSE was shipping with it by default, and Fedora was pushing it in a big way, and Btrfs was going to be the Linux file system, and it seems like everybody just kind of gave up on it.
I'm not that much of a fan of Btrfs.
It just seemed like it had a little bit of steam behind it early on, and then people lost interest.
One of the shortcomings is you can't tell how much space you're actually using, and if you run out, then it starts thrashing, and you're in a problem. There's no way to tell.
There's no way to tell if your disk is full?
Yep. There's no way to tell what percentage of your disk you're using at any given time.
Well, that keeps it interesting.
Keeps you guessing.
But I read an article the other day. Somebody was using it because it's easier to swap drives in and out if you're using the RAID system. ZFS has some restrictions in that way, and they like Btrfs because they often frequently change their drives. So it depends on your use case, I would guess.
How does it do with hot swapping?
I don't know. I don't use it. I just read about it.
Doesn't wheel well.
You said it does it well?
Probably doesn't do well.
Okay. It doesn't do well. Okay.
How it works.
Well, Alan's got an interesting thing in the chat about yanking the power out of a 12-drive BTRFS array, and it was fine.
That's a lot of drives there.
That must be like the red button. Do I yank the, push the button, yank the power?
Pretty sure.
I have seen bigger ZFS arrays, like 60 drive ZFS arrays and stuff like that.
I think Alan's trying to see which he can have more of, ThinkPads or drives. It's a lot of drives. I've got 7 actually in my machine. I'm not that far behind.
I got 2 in my laptop and 2 in my server.
I've got the 1 terabyte NVMe. It's the main drive on this machine, and then I've got the 6-bay IC dock with 6 256 gig SSDs.
Yeah, I've got 3 old platter drives, 2 solid states, and 1 NVMe, and a partridge and a pear tree.
I've got some 4 or 5 legacy 3.5, 4 terabyte drives. They're still chugging away, but they're ancient now.
I was going to say, I've got one that was a donated drive that I think started use in 2008. Other than that, the one that I brought into my machine was Caviar Black. That's about 10 years old now.
That video I made about moving your home folder to a second drive the other day, there was a crazy comment that this guy had the other day. I don't know if he was serious or not. He says he does that for every directory in the root directory. He has a drive for every subdirectory in the root directory. And then he said he had a 1 terabyte drive for each one. And I was like, why? You have a 1 terabyte drive for /boot? It's such a small directory, and /opt typically isn't even used unless you're compiling software. It's like he's dedicating drives to empty directories.
That could actually, for him, probably is okay, but in my opinion, that's actually a bad system because of the speed of the drives and all that.
It's like dedicating a 1 terabyte drive to each directory in the root directory. I told the guys, like, man, you've got more drives than I've got underwear. It's like, what? I don't even know how you would fit that many in a case. I've got a huge case, and it wouldn't fit that many drives in it.
I could get 9 in the front panel if I get rid of the power button thing and have that separate. Actually, and then I got 2 kind of in the back, top back. So
if I really wanted to, I could fit 6 more in this machine, probably comfortably. So I could get it up to 13, 14 drives, maybe. And like I said, the case I've got a huge, big full tower case. So
yeah, so is mine. Mine's a Thermaltake Armor from like 2006.
Oh, cool.
It's heavy. It's about 54 pounds with everything in it right now.
Oh man, mine. It's got 2 handles on it, and they're made of steel. I mean, it's not plastic, because you need it. It's like picking up a TV when I move this tower. Yeah, it's heavy.
It's not because they were cheap. It's because it's steel, because you need it.
Mm-hmm. And going back
morning, everyone.
Good morning. How you doing, Derek?
Not bad.
Morning.
Going back over some of what I did the past month, some people had some questions about doas, as far as doas as a replacement to sudo. So there are some programs on your system that do have hard dependencies to sudo. Well, I say there could be. I know for sure the Yay AUR helper that we were talking about earlier has a hard dependency on sudo. When you install Yay, it requires sudo. So you can't get rid of sudo if you plan on using Yay. Now, the good thing is there's other AUR helpers out there. You could just install one of them, or you could install AUR packages the Arch way and not use a helper. But I wanted to throw that out there because people were asking about that, especially with Yay, since we've got so many Arch users that watch the channel.
But let's talk about the recorder video.
Yeah. Should I grab an instrument?
No, I haven't seen that one yet, but as a musician myself, I can appreciate your background. So
yeah, that was a fun video. I hope I did the recorder some justice as far as that one. That was an alto recorder, and I actually hadn't played that much lately. And that piece I was attempting to play, it's not a very easy piece of music.
Go big, go home.
Yeah. Well, if you put it on 1.5 times speed, it sounds really impressive. So
I'll have to do that.
Most videos do.
Yeah. If you put it on 2 times speed, it just sounds ridiculous. But if you only put it up 1.5, it sounds like, DT's got some skills. Have I ever used any music software on Linux besides Audacity? That's a very broad question. What kind of music software? You talking about like music notation software, or Audacity? Obviously, is a DAW, for editing audio.
I've done lots of voiceover auditions with Audacity.
Mm-hmm.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, Audacity is great as far as if you want to do some post-processing of some audio.
Reminds me of the old Goldwave program.
But as far as
Windows,
he's talking about like music creation or music notation software. Yeah, I've used some stuff. I've used LMMS for the Linux Multimedia Studio. It's good for creating MIDI music. The notation software most people use, not most people, but a lot of people use in Linux. It really makes some nice sheet music. Is I forget what it's called. Rose Garden. Could be wrong about that. I've played with it a little bit. It's got a high learning curve. But typically what most composers would use, they're going to have to use Windows software. They're going to have to use things like Finale or Sibelius. And they're going to have to be run on Windows or Mac.
Rose Garden is correct for composition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Create some beautiful looking sheet music. It's complicated to work with, though. It's got a learning curve. Now, if you spent all day, every day in it, I'm sure you could get up to speed. It's kind of like learning Vim almost. I mean, it's like there's a lot to it.
Wow, yeah, this does look pretty complicated.
Yeah, and I'm not kidding on that. Yeah,
some impressive music on the front,
mm-hmm.
on the front page of it. Looked at the first image on the front page, and it's quite complicated. or fast.
Yeah.
Anyway, anyways, it'd be nice if we could get something like Tune Tracks on some of the more popular ones that are out there now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one thing Linux could be better at is like some of the music software.
Attracting the newer ones. Because I was on a commercial shoot, and one of the video guys that was kind of off to the side from the camera was using looked like I think it was DaVinci possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting how well entertainment has embraced some of that more open and cross-platform stuff.
Because when you go to universities, like if I went to like the local universities here in my area and went to their music departments and their music labs, I can tell you they're all using Macs, right? That's that's the computer and that's the software they're running. And I don't know, could we switch them all to Linux? Well, until we have the software available, no, right? So,
well, yeah, that's true. I mean, you might be able to get somebody off of Final Cut Pro with DaVinci or something.
Yeah.
You say Kden Live, they might look at you funny.
Yeah. Well, I tell you that Apple has our universities on lockdown. I mean, you see all the kids running around with the MacBooks, and they give them discounts. So I can understand.
Yeah, well, the discount isn't that great compared to like Dell or anything like that. So it's interesting that they still get but it's the hip cool thing, man. Yeah. I mean, you got to have your MacBook,
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, Peter, I plan to play more guitar when I have more time. Yeah. I don't know the guitar myself, Peter. It's one of those things I've thought about learning. And being knowledgeable as far as music. I mean, I could pick up any instrument and learn it rather quickly. I just need time. It's the thing. I don't even have time to play the instruments I know how to play these days. So.
I was going to say, in a video, you said you weren't playing as much lately. Have you kind of gotten back to it?
Yeah, just because I don't have time. I mean, I made that video where I played a little bit of the trombone a couple of months ago, and then I made the video the other day playing a little bit of the recorder. And that's about it. But that's more playing than I was doing the previous 6 months when I didn't pick up any of those instruments.
Yeah, I haven't had a full drum set in a long time, but I come from a percussionist, so I've done more than just that. I've done the symphonic and orchestral and marching stuff. So it's hard when you have close neighbors.
Yeah, that's one of the problems, especially like if I really wanted to get back into shape on the trombone, my neighbors would hate me. Like I can put out some sound on that thing.
First you play something they know, and then after that it won't matter, because then they'll listen.
Yeah, play something nice, some little jazz tune, maybe a Tommy Dorsey ballad, and then after that, then get into Wagner, The Ride of the Valkyries.
Yep.
Bum, 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 bum.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And let's see.
So now that Alan's here, I just let him know that I installed the Firefox Snap and the auto update. I started the Firefox Snap and the auto update feature works perfectly. You can sit there, watch it update from the monthly release with just as if it were a native app. So that's it. I've got an AppImage for Firefox, and I launch it, and it nags you every time. Do you want to update? Yes or no? Every time you launch it, because it's in a read-only binary. So that the Firefox auto update is a distinct advantage in that case. Right? Because when Firefox starts, it no longer lets you disable the update, right? So you have to update it every time. And so every time my snap runs, it has to update it. There is a workaround. I found a workaround finally, but that's a big advantage for snaps.
Well, that's good. I'm sure Alan. Good to hear that snaps are doing something right and app images are terrible. Now, app images are great too. I actually use all three on my system: snaps,
Yeah, they have their own
flatbacks.
use cases.
Yeah,
They have their own use cases.
and they are different as far as what they do. Like, there's not as much security, I guess, in app images because of the way they're built. Right?
There's none.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's two big pods again. So
I was going to say, I noticed that too.
This is the second time we've had big pod and a alternate universe here.
At least it's not mirroring. At least we get one static image and then one.
Wow, my system crashed.
Yeah, it happens.
Apparently,
You're on Windows?
no.
Okay.
Linux. Apparently, distro hopping right before a live chat isn't a good thing.
Oh, that keeps it interesting. Will it, won't it work?
Well, NVIDIA was doing me problems, so I just reinstalled everything.
So how many of you guys tried the Alacrity terminal?
I
Anybody?
use it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I tried it on 3 different machines. It only ran on one. Didn't run on an older NVIDIA graphics card, crapped out. Ran on a Intel generic without an add-on graphics card, ran that fine.
No.
And then on the other one, it didn't, same system, but a different OS. It didn't run on that one either.
I have heard from other people. The reason I asked was if you're running especially older hardware or older software, in some case, if you're running a very old distro, yeah, it may not work.
Yeah, was it?
Yeah, you need to be on something reasonably recent. Yeah, and you said you were running it on a different operating system, so you tried it on Mac OS or something?
No, Debian 9. It didn't work on there on the one with the older GPU. Debian 9 without a GPU, it didn't work on. Ubuntu 1910, it worked on it fine with no GPU.
Yeah, and some of that too. I mean, when you talk about Debian, how old is the package for Alacrity? Maybe not be the most recent version.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, a lot of people ended up taking a look at Alacrity, so I've been getting a lot of folks commenting about that. A lot of you folks tried Joplin as well, the note-taking app. Got a lot of people that seemed to be impressed with that. I know I was impressed with it. I don't know if I would use it because I'm not a note-taking kind of guy. But it's pretty interesting. I've got Joplin installed on my desktop and on my phone, and they're synced with my Nextcloud. So pretty cool to have all your notes synced on all your devices.
See, and that's interesting product because that really directly competes and can be a replacement for Evernote versus some of these other products that come out. They're a partial replacement.
Yeah.
There's Simple Note, which is a replacement for Evernote. And for my notebooks, I'm using, what am I using? Zoho has a notebook feature. It's a bit different. It's like a deck of cards. You click on one of the cards and then you can get your notes and you can create sub cards from those cards. So it's a different type of note-taking facility, but it's online and it's free. And it's working okay.
And it's
Zoho.
Zoho. You know,
that's part of the whole suites. Yeah.
Yeah, but they have a suite of packages.
They're pretty impressive. I've been impressed by them.
You know, if you hadn't told me that was a website, I would have swore that was an open source project because Zoho is just so bad of a name. I was like, that's got to be one of ours.
Yeah.
Sounds like a community edition of something.
Yeah.
Question I have is, does Joplin have the ability to import old notes from Evernote?
It does. Well, I don't
It
know.
does?
I don't know about how old, but yeah, it has the ability to import from Evernote. That's one of the big features that it touts right on their homepage.
Because I used Evernote for the longest time as a recipe collector. Every time I saw a good recipe, I threw it in Evernote.
Yeah. I've never used Evernote, obviously being strictly a Linux user, so I couldn't test out how well it imports that stuff. But yeah, they advertise that you can import your Evernote.
Yeah, they've got a little description on it on the front page of their website about the types of metadata that it moves over. Yeah.
And one thing I didn't do in that Joplin video, there was one feature in that video that I cut out when I recorded the video. You guys remember when I was doing the command line interface and it spit out like the debugging stuff, where it was giving you like terminal output. And that was kind of a bug. And I left all that stuff in, and there was some security stuff that could have been an issue with that, but it doesn't matter because I just did that for that video. I deleted that user and that server, so it doesn't matter now. But there was something else it showed in that video that I did cut out. When you look at the metadata in Joplin, in the terminal, and probably in the GUI as well, it gives you longitude and latitude as part of the metadata for that note.
Yeah.
And
yeah, because I think Evernote had that too.
And it is freaky when you're like longitude and latitude. What the hell? And then I pull up Google and I entered the longitude and latitude, and it's like literally my house. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
It's an internet location to do that.
I'm talking about, it's crazy how pinpoint accuracy is like, wow, they know exactly where I was at when I wrote that note. So I know some people could be concerned about that. I didn't show that on the video because, you know, I wasn't putting my exact location out there, so I did cut that.
I tried Festival.
Yeah,
on the system.
Festival.
The male voice was horrible. It was barely legible. The female voice was okay.
I agree. The
voices.
Yeah, you can't understand it. Yeah, the female voice is the only one that actually you can understand anything. I think it's a lot to do with the pitch of the voice, just because it's a higher pitched voice. Now, you may be able to get other voices out there other than the 3 that were installed with it by default. I don't know. I didn't look into it for that much. But I was pretty impressed with how easy it is to install that thing and run it. It's not a complicated program at all. So
yeah, it's very lightweight. I tried Mozilla's text-to-speech in Python, but I couldn't get it to work. The code worked, but the database, I couldn't get the database to install. So I gave up without too much effort on it. I didn't want to put a lot of time into it. But if you want true sound, it's pretty much Google and maybe Mozilla.
And speaking of the Festival video I did, I mentioned that Festival's not a really complicated piece of software at all. It's pretty simple to use, and people were like, is that a big deal? Because I had some people comment, and it's like, why does it matter if it's a simple program or not? Well, for something like Festival, it's really an accessibility program. It's for people that have trouble reading. So it would be people with visual disabilities or maybe dyslexia. So having that thing not be that complicated is a big deal for accessibility if it's an accessibility program. So that's why I pointed that out on that video. Wouldn't make much sense. Yep.
Go ahead.
I was going to say it wouldn't make much sense to make an accessibility program and then make it complicated as hell to get it working, right? You're just preventing the kind of people that need to use that program from using it.
I use that kind of thing to create OGG files, because when I run bash scripts, you issue a return code, but sometimes you like to get an audio response from well. So I do something like, you can hear it.
Finished recording.
So I'll create a small OGG file, and I'll issue that just before I issue a bad return code or the actual return code. So you can create OGG files or MP3 files from Festival, I think you said.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I demonstrated that on the video. Is I can take a piece of text and just convert it to an MP3, and then you can play that MP3 in whatever audio player you want to play it.
So I don't know if you used YouTube text-to-speech. A lot of their videos had text-to-speech generated, and you could tell the voice was a staccato voice. It was unpleasant. But recently, I've noticed that it's getting closer and closer to a true voice. It's not nearly as irritating. So I'm going to think a year or two from now, you're not going to be able to tell whether you're listening to a true human or a text-to-speech on a lot of these videos.
Yeah, well, you'll always be able to tell it's computerized. It's kind of like being a musician. You can always tell a synthesized instrument from a real one. It's not necessarily the tone quality. You can probably get those the same. It's just some of the little things, the human aspects. You know, a drum track, for example. You mentioned you're a drummer. You've never listened to a drum track and thought, you know, that really has some soul, some spirit. That's just because a computer can't do that, right? It can't do those musical things. The other day when I played the recorder, if you watch that video, you know, I play with the tempo. I embellish a lot of the melody. I'm not playing exactly what's on the page for most of that piece. I'm doing a lot of vibrato and, you know, things with the, you know, these are things that a computer would have trouble with. A computer can't really do those musical things.
That's true.
Yeah.
Hey, Derek, what do you think about ZFS? I'm currently messing around with it to try it out over Bash.
ZFS, I've used it. I have it on my system. I switch between Bash and ZSH often. I'm comfortable in either one. ZSH obviously has some interesting features to it. The tab completion stuff.
The plugins are nice.
Yeah. And I'm one of those people, I don't typically heavily configure stuff. Like I know there's a million plugins out there for ZSH, and I really don't use many of them. But some of them are interesting, like the fact that there's plugins out there where if you need to type a path to a directory, that you can do it in shorthand. Like if I want to go to /user/ give me a directory, share, fonts, you know, instead of having to type the whole thing out or even tab, you could do like /u/s/f and it'll know what directory you're going to, and it'll just auto expand that for you. You know, there's plugins like that. Like there's some neat stuff with the Z shell, but I don't know if it's like nobody really ships ZSH by default. There's a few distros that do, but it seems like all of them ship with Bash by default.
Mac does.
Mac is doing ZSH by default now? Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah,
well,
for I believe 2 versions.
Oh.
Some copyright issues, I think, is the reason they changed.
They had a really old version of Bash in there, so they just
so the problem is GNU Bash is GPL'd, right?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. And they had a really old version of it, and then just
Richard Stallman would get on them for using Bash, and because then they need to GPL the entire Mac operating system. Now that's not the way it works, but I mean that's probably what the Mac guys fear. They don't want any of that GPL stuff on their system. Yeah, so what are you thinking about ZSH? You discovered some interesting stuff with it that you're liking, or?
I'm liking the theming. The Oh My ZSH adds a lot of functionality to it. The alias is built right into the RC. Direct file is real nice.
And of course, you know, all that stuff you can do in Bash. Okay, somebody's playing some music. If you like all those aliases, you know, you can just copy them over to your Bash RC too. And that's typically what I do. My Bash RC and my ZSH RC basically contain the same stuff. That way it doesn't matter which shell I'm in. The theming too.
I know the alias is good.
Yeah. the theming that you do with Oh My ZSH, there's some cool theming stuff you can do in Bash too. Most people, don't know about some of the cool stuff you can do in Bash. There's even some frameworks like Oh My ZSH for Bash. I know there's a Oh My Bash package out there. I've never used it. But if
I like the random theme, which is kind of nice. You can change it up to every time you open it up, it has a different theme to it.
Yeah. The theme I have been using, if you guys see me using the Z shell, is I typically use I'm going to switch views here for the YouTube channel. I'll pull up a terminal and switch to ZSH because Bash is the default. But this is power level 10K. For those of you watching the YouTube stream, that is that power line like effect. That is a theme for ZSH called power level 10K. Just do a search. As a matter of fact, I can link to it. That's probably the best ZSH theme. And
that is sharp.
Just because you can configure that thing to show you whatever it is you want. I mean, you can. It's very customizable. Let's see if I can find the link to it. Yep. I'm going to post the link in the YouTube chat. So check that out. It's really easy to set up. You just add some lines to your ZSHRC file, and away you go. All right.
One time I wrote quite a few functions in KSH, which nobody else ever uses, I don't think.
No,
that has object-oriented features, so you can create objects. So you can create a folder object, and then you can say folder delete, and folder sort, whatever you want.
Of course, everybody uses Bash and CSH now, but yeah, I mean, obviously you have the C shell out there. Nobody really uses it. You have the corn shell, KSH, that you were talking about. There's
Conch.
I have played around with Conch. It's not quite ready for prime time yet, but it's an interesting shell. There's fish.
Exactly. I ran it at the terminal. I have a program, a Bash script that lists folders. It works perfectly in Bash. In Conch, it dropped the last folder in the list. It's buggy.
Yeah, I had it on my system, played around with it a little bit off and on for a few weeks, and then I realized, you know what, it's not quite ready. I definitely wouldn't want to recommend people switch from Bash to Conch. That's probably a bad idea.
And then there's NU shell.
Now, the new shell was interesting, yeah.
When you demonstrated it, I think it was on version 3. A couple of months ago it was on version 8, and now it's on version 9.
Wow, that's good.
They're updating it all the time.
Very cool. Yeah.
And it's really nice to have that in English modified 3 weeks ago, last access 2 days ago. To have that in full English is really a nice feature.
Yeah. And I've never used PowerShell, being I'm not a Windows user, don't know anything about Windows. But people were like, why would I use something like the new shell, with the tabled kind of format? Well, it makes sense, because how many times do you run a command in the shell and then you awk something to grab, a column of information? Well, if it's already in a tabled format, it makes things so much easier. Like, I understand the new shell kind of eliminates the need to run awk a lot, right?
The limitation that I have with it is just a shell.
Yep.
So you have to go into Bash, enter NU, and then enter your command. It's not like Bash where you can do Bash, I think -C, and enter a command at the terminal without having to go into the shell. You still can't do that in NU yet. Anyway.
No. Someone in the chat
I love that feature.
Someone in the chat is asking me, do I have the Stream Deck from Elgato? I don't know. I kind of know what the Stream Deck is, but if it has drivers, would they have drivers for Linux? I only have Linux machines, so if they don't have drivers for Linux, it wouldn't make sense for me to buy it. It would just be a paperweight. So,
It doesn't work on
Right.
Mac.
No, that's what I was thinking.
Well, there's something. I was at Best Buy the other day, and I was talking with someone who was actually really knowledgeable and stuff. And I saw the Stream Deck there, and he said, "Well, Corsair bought Elgato," and he said before they released the new version of the K95 mechanical keyboard, there is actually a set of buttons on the left-hand side of the keyboard that can basically be programmed to be the features of the Stream Deck.
Yeah, and of course the Stream Deck. I mean, it's kind of a cool piece of equipment, but you could just buy you a little programmable keyboard, a little macro keyboard to do whatever. I mean,
or you can do like someone has done is they take a Fire tablet and repurposed it as a Stream Deck.
Yeah, phone, tablet, whatever.
And keep in mind, I have a programmable keyboard. I have the ErgoDox Easy. I mean, if I really wanted to, I could just keep adding layers of keys on this to where, like I have a specific layer for running OBS, and it could be my Stream Deck, I guess, right? So.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that the Stream Deck does that we couldn't do in Linux anyway with the right keyboard.
The nice feature of it is the little LCD screens on the keys. So you have like pictures and like
that's
icons
bloated
for everything, and then you have folders. And that's a nice thing. But you can do that with a phone.
You don't need images on your. Get little sticky notes or whatever, and.
There was a keyboard that had I don't think it's still available anymore, but it had OLEDs on the surfaces of the keys, and you could program the entire keyboard to be what you wanted.
Yeah. I mean, my keyboard doesn't even have.
Just waiting for a.
I was gonna say my keyboard doesn't even have the letters on half the keys. Like my keys are blank. So.
Do you have the color? Do you have the colors that ErgoDoc offers?
I can I can make it backlit if I want. I can give it some lighting. Right. I currently actually don't have that turned on. But yeah, I can.
I'm just waiting for a sheet of glass that will be a keyboard, like in the spy movies and stuff like that.
I think somebody has that already. I don't think it ever went to production, but
I've seen that also, like in use, but.
I think there was a Asus laptop that was displayed that has like a second screen on the bottom, but I think they ended up revising it quite a bit. But
Razer laptop had a second screen on the side.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Someone
how good this.
Someone in the chat was asking me about my keyboard, so I was linking to the ErgoDox website. It's a very nice keyboard. Since May, because I made a video. I made a video about it. Actually, let me link to the video.
I missed that one. I'll have to watch that.
Well, the ErgoDox is definitely above my budget since I normally buy €15 keyboards.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. You buy once and you never have to buy again. That $15 keyboard's not going to last forever.
That's what I typically do.
It's going to last 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Then I buy a new one.
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
Last one lasted me 5 years until I spilled something on it.
Yeah. When I made that video about the ErgoDox, and I was like, yeah, with the keycaps and with the rubber padding and everything, and the tilt arms that I've got, and it's like it was a little under $400 what I paid for the keyboard.
Oh.
And people were like, that is outrageous. Why would anybody spend that kind of money on a keyboard? That's like, it's a nice keyboard.
Yeah, but if you use equipment for a long time, that could be worth it. I mean,
it is easier on your wrist. I can tell you, if you're worried about any kind of carpal tunnel, things like that, it makes sense. It really does.
For me, it would have to be like a hell of a lot of reteaching how I type, because I type mostly with my right hand. So
yeah, but you'll pick it up quick, because I had to relearn. I had to relearn how to type, and really, in a week, I was okay. Within a month, I was as good as ever.
Does it say cross-packing?
Yeah.
Well, I
It's-
almost failed the class because I don't know how to type on a keyboard.
The problem is if you use the default configuration for the ErgoDocs is there's no space bar in the traditional sense. The space bar is one of your thumb keys. I think by default they put it on this thumb, but I changed it to the right thumb. Or no, I know it was on the right thumb. I changed it to the left thumb. Anyway, so that's the only weird part is spacing. And the fact that the keys don't line up on the keyboard exactly where you think because they're in straight rows. Unlike your traditional QWERTY keyboard where, the keys don't line up in even columns, obviously, but they do on the ErgoDocs. So when you first start, you're going to be hitting keys, and it's not the right key. It takes a little while to get used to where all the keys are.
Yeah, it's interesting, that's for sure.
But I can switch from this keyboard to a normal keyboard like on my laptop or my keyboard at work, which is just a normal keyboard. I can switch between them, no problem. Just because I've gotten used to using, this keyboard versus, At first, it's a little weird. It'll take you a minute or two to adjust when you switch keyboards. But after a while, I can just sit down at this keyboard. There's no adjustment period. I boom. Or I can go to this keyboard and I'm just fine with it.
Well, for me, that kind of money is not worth it. I can get by for 5 years for this Logitech keyboard.
Yeah, but it's programmable and it's got LED lights.
My laptop has LED lights. I don't use them, so
I can use this keyboard as my mouse too. I actually never do that, but yeah.
I can do too. I can change my numpad into mouse control, but
Layer 2 on this keyboard is actually mouse, where the keys actually just move the cursor around and yeah.
Wow.
Yes, my ergonomic keyboard is more expensive than your old computer. Yeah, this keyboard is actually more expensive than either of my laptops. Yeah, I spent twice as much money actually on this keyboard as I spent on that ThinkPad that's running. Of course, I bought that used on eBay. But yeah, which keyboard is first on DistroWatch? I will use that one.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Logitech K120.
Yeah.
The staple of every office in the world.
You would be right. Logitech is definitely at the top of DistroWatch if there was one.
The Logitech K120. In every office you will find one. It is the most basic of the basic models.
All right, guys.
And it works the best.
I'm going to switch scenes here. So when I made the DistroWatch video the other day, Art was 19th on the list for the 7-day rankings. Now we are up to 7. But if we go to trending for the past 7 days, Arch is number 4. We were actually at number 1 2 days ago. That first day I put the video out, we were number 1 on the trending page.
It's interesting. It's really nice to see MX Linux up there because I remember watching it a couple of years ago kind of start to come out and bloom a little bit and people start covering it.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Mm-hmm. And most of the rankings for this stuff, I didn't go over much in the video I did the other day, but in previous videos, I did a video about DistroWatch a couple of years ago. Most of that stuff is actually driven by Google search results.
Well, isn't it also downloads too from, or no. Maybe they don't have a way to, oh wait, never mind. They don't have a way to track that.
No.
Yeah.
It really doesn't measure anything other than page hits. And most of that stuff is driven by Google.
Right. What I meant was their links to, people clicking on links to the download is what I meant, not the number of downloads, obviously.
No, they're not tracking
their
that.
Page.
Yeah.
Just page hit ranking, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I should try Manjaro again now that I have a new graphics card. Maybe it'll behave differently with a multi-monitor setup.
What GPU do you have?
I was using a 970. Now I'm trying out a 2070 Super.
With the new driver, NVIDIA 440 with the render offload. The new, it won't work. One screen only, except maybe in your case it will if you have all monitors in the GPU.
Okay. Yeah.
If
when
you
I was
don't
using
have,
the 9,
it won't work.
yeah, when I was using the 970, I had 3 exact same monitors, and they were all plugged in there. 2 were DisplayPort, and one was a. Oh, I'm sorry. No, 2 were DVI, and one was a DisplayPort to DVI adapter. And it would not remember. Manjaro would not remember what monitor alignment was from one boot to the next. I had to reset it up every time.
I have the problem as well.
Okay, so I'm not the only one.
On my 1050 TIM, I have the same problem.
Gotcha.
But that's all depends on which environment you use.
I was using the default. I think I was using the default that comes.
So XFC and Plasma, I know, remembers it, and I believe GNOME does as well.
I'll have to try it again.
I'm using Manjaro with 2 monitors and KDE, and it seems to be remembering the monitor settings okay with that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, I used to believe OpenBox, and every time I had a mirrored setup. Every time had to change it to which monitor is where.
Hey guys, let's do an experiment really quick, because people don't understand. Some people don't understand when I talk about these rankings, how they're really just search results that are affecting the DistroWatch rankings. Pull up your web browser, and if you could do a private tab, it might be best, just so we get a real view here. Just type the word DistroWatch and hit enter. And you have in Google, you should have the authority links for DistroWatch, which is those 6 links under DistroWatch, like the sublinks. You see some distributions listed there? You see Mint and Solus and Andix. Go look at the rankings for those 3 distributions in DistroWatch, and you will see why that is a big reason those distributions are so high.
I see Mint, Solus, and Pop.
You say, okay, well, I'm seeing Mint, Solus, and Antix, and all 3 of them are in the top 10, I think. Let's see where Pop is. You're saying something for Pop?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're getting a slightly different than me. But that would explain why those distributions rank so high, because if you did a search for DistroWatch, I mean, you're presented with the links to some of these distributions as like really high search results. And
I just tried using DuckDuckGo, and when I type in DistroWatch, I get VM Knopex in the description of DistroWatch, the main link to the site.
Yeah. Yeah, as Peter's. On the other hand, word of mouth might be the most important determining factor for which distro a new Linux user chooses. I probably most new Linux users don't know any other Linux users, though. They probably don't.
Well, yeah. Actually, that brings up an interesting point, because when I first started with Linux years ago, there was really no social media at all whatsoever. Yeah. And all it was forums. So I basically did an internet search on Lycos or whatever it was back then. Yeah. And, I found one. Yeah. That's how I found Mandrake.
Right. And I can tell you, I often say, we kind of know Ubuntu's the most popular distribution on the desktop. I mean, let's be real here. One of the reasons Ubuntu's popular is because, again, of the web and search results. When you do a search for Linux, how often does Ubuntu.com or Ask Ubuntu, all their web properties come up? I mean, that's why people know what Ubuntu is. You're not going to get.
For me, it's fourth result. First 3 are Linux, then 2 Wikipedia articles, one in Slovenian, one in English. Then it's Ubuntu.com.
Yeah, I get the Linux Foundation, I get Linux.com, and then I get Ubuntu.com for the search result for Linux, right? You get Ubuntu.com. Okay.
If you do search for Linux, install Samba, the first 5 links are how to install Samba on Ubuntu.
Yeah, exactly. That's why Ubuntu is by far. It's not even close. And people still argue with me. Well, DistroWatch may be garbage, but I still think MX or Mint or whatever has more. No, come on, man.
Look, I think DistroWatch actually provides an interesting service because you get a lot of stuff all in one spot that you can't get anywhere else.
And you know, I'm going to go ahead and hurt some people's feelings. If you really think Mint or Manjaro or MX has more installs than Ubuntu, I'm going to give you one word: servers. Right? There are tens of millions of servers. We're not even talking about the desktop servers. Tens of millions of servers out there that run Ubuntu. End of discussion. So let's just shut that noise down.
Almost that amount of Debians, and then we go to Red Hat, and that's
right.
And Fedora.
Exactly. I guarantee you, there's more Debian installs out there than Mint or MX. Well, I guarantee you that Fedora is probably the second most popular desktop Linux.
Look at here. If you under that page hit ranking, I mean, they put it right there. But then if that what you saw default is the last 6 months. But if you go trending the past 7 days, PC Linux OS is #1.
Right. And I've never met a person in real life that ran PC Linux OS. I've met one person online, Alistair, Present Arms. He runs PC Linux OS. But obviously, I talk to people that run Linux all the time. I never come across anybody. Most people have never even heard of PC Linux OS, but you're right. It's #1 trending on DistroWatch for the past week.
Well, I just like it when I run into somebody, just kind of out and about and talking with people, and we start talking technology. The fact that you should see their eyes light up when I say Linux, they're like, oh, I know what that is.
And what's funny is MX Linux is #1 on DistroWatch, and it's a great Linux distribution. I install it on family computers all the time. Really like the distribution, but most people have never heard of MX Linux. I mean, we have, but if you don't hang out on DistroWatch and you've only been in Linux for a few years, you probably have never heard of MX. You probably have never heard of Solus. To be honest, most people probably never heard of Zorn. Zorn's in the top 10. I mean, yeah.
I remember back in the day when you actually register your user, you got a registered user number for your Linux registration.
Wow.
Volume slow.
Yeah, and the next question that people always had on the DistroWatch videos I've done is, okay, so DistroWatch rankings are garbage. Is there a way to accurately measure this stuff? No, not really.
No. That's the beauty of it, and also the bad thing.
There is closest thing to how much usage is. It's network statistics like Google Analytics. If you would collate every site data, even then, there would be a lot of inaccuracy.
Search results give you a better idea. That's still not accurate. As far as getting an accurate number of installs, there's no way, because even if you track the number of ISOs that were downloaded, people download ISOs and never install it. People download an ISO and then install it to 100 different machines. Like there's no way to be accurate on this stuff. And if you have machines running it that never connect to the web, obviously they're never going to be tracked. If you were trying to do some kind of tracking as far as who's pinging the repositories, for example.
Plus, you have people that download it and install it for a week to try it and make a video for it.
Right.
Well, yeah, because then you have the VM versus the bare metal.
Because there's millions of servers out there running Linux. Some of them may not even be connected to the outside internet. So, there's no real way to track some of this stuff.
Yeah. It's a big mess.
Yeah.
Anyway. It's a beautiful mess.
Yeah. I was surprised how many people were angry at my DistroWatch video because, hey, man, why are you talking so much trash about MX and Mint and Manjaro? I was like, what the hell are you talking about? I like all three of those distributions. I just said I install MX all the time on family computers. I've run Manjaro. Anybody who's watched this channel knows Manjaro is one of my favorite distributions. But I'm being for real. They're not the most popular distributions on the desktop. Not even close. I mean, that's not.
You have seen yesterday's discussion IRC about your Vida. It was quite heated.
Yeah, if you think I'm talking bad because I'm about these distros because I'm saying DistroWatch is bad, there's a disconnect there. That's not. I wasn't saying anything bad about any distribution on that video. And then some people were like, "Well, you're trying to make Arch #1 to make a point." And it's like you're gonna mess up the noobs because right now the noobs are gonna install MX, which is good. We don't want them to install Arch. Whatever. Like, okay.
A guy actually said that you were butthurt because Arch isn't the #1.
Yeah, I'm not even running Arch. I said that on the video too. I don't run Arch Linux. I don't.
Yeah.
Like these people, they don't even watch the videos when they make their comments. Yeah, do I rice as far as like Unix porn? No. I don't sit around, playing with my wallpapers and my polybar configs and things like that. Like, I don't have pictures of Japanese anime, for wallpapers. I don't try to take really cool screenshots with NeoFetch and AA Fire and everything. That's cool. You folks that like that stuff, I can't waste all my time doing stuff like that, though. Takes a lot of time to create those really nice screenshots actually you see on Unix porn.
Yeah.
I customize some applications like Firefox. I have 40 add-ons for that.
Yeah, in the chat.
Actually,
go ahead.
Quantum came out a couple of years ago, they had 6,600 add-ons. Now there's 17,800 add-ons for that.
I was just going to say in the chat, Maybox Linux, he was saying, on servers, all he ever sees is CentOS, Debian, and Ubuntu. Yeah, that's all. Matter of fact, when I first got into Linux, 15, 20 years ago, and doing some stuff on servers, all you were offered back then really was Red Hat and Debian. Then CentOS became a thing, and CentOS servers are very common. Now Ubuntu LTS server. That's all you see. That's the only operating systems you're ever presented as far as a server.
On my server, I run Debian. Then I have virtual machines for Ubuntu and Arch.
You have an Arch server.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm seeing a few web hosts now. This is starting to become a little bit more common. You have, your typical, hey, you want a CentOS or a Debian server? And I'm seeing some offer 3. You want CentOS, Debian, or Arch? I'm like, Arch? Okay, I'm not crazy. So I'm not.
If that's your thing, go for it.
I could see it in some applications.
It's not that crazy.
I could see it like if I absolutely had to have the latest packages to run something, I get it. But at the same time, breakages.
You don't have to update every day. You don't have to ever update. Really.
Well, that's true. If all you did was install Arch and then never updated it, then I guess it could be just as good a server as Debian.
How many server admins update their server, especially VPSs?
There was
almost never.
Well, if you're running
one university student who set up a server, and I think it was Debian with XFCE4, came back 7 years later and it was still running.
Yeah, but it's Debian, so there probably weren't that many updates in those 7 years anyway. It's not like.
And
why?
If you don't update, nothing changes. Everything works.
Yeah.
If there isn't any bugs in there,
and XFCE doesn't update.
It won't change.
Yeah, if you go 2 months without updating on an Arch server, you come back and there's like 800 packages to update. That's the problem. Debian and CentOS, they never change. You can go 6 months without.
Even though you don't need to update those 800 packages, who cares?
At least CentOS is not using the 2x kernel anymore.
You might want to update your Debian and CentOS servers though for security updates. I mean, they do push out security updates. But yeah, I get it that most people don't.
Most systems, most server systems aren't ever updated, except if they're required to be updated for applications. Especially VPSs, those who have websites. I never saw any.
Yeah, in the chat, we got somebody saying he talked to Richard M. Stallman. He's a very cool guy. Nice. All right. I'm sorry, we got sidetracked there. Any of you guys ever talked to Richard M. Stallman?
Thanks,
Not
no.
that I can think of.
Nope.
He's not a hard guy to get a hold of. If you email him, he'll respond to you. You may not like what he says as far as a response, but he's not hard to get a hold of.
I do talk to dead people, though.
Has anyone here studied at MIT? I doubt.
Sadly, no.
Yeah, not this crowd. That's probably a hard school to get into.
More or less.
I went to kindergarten there.
Yeah.
I studied at WIT in Boston. Wentworth
I wish I
Institute of
could get
Tech.
to MIT, but I'm kind of on the wrong continent.
They have online programs, I think.
You're probably about as close to MIT as I am, actually, Big Pot. It would take me. I'd have to drive for 2 days straight to get there. Like if I drove.
I would have to have a plane ride.
Yeah. Oh, I would too. Yeah.
I was pretty close to it. I went to Wentworth Institute of Technology in Boston.
Yeah, cool. Did Richard ever visit?
No.
Yeah, Danny says he went to DistroWatch University. Okay, a lot of DistroWatch jokes today.
I'd go there if it was #1 on DistroWatch.
Now, there probably are DistroWatch-like sites out there for universities. Especially online universities, telling you which one's the best.
Actually, there's the I think U.S. News and World Report puts out a list every year, and then the Princeton guides or whatever they call them.
Yeah, does Princeton always come out #1 in their own guide?
I think it's a different Princeton. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Cambridge is bloody expensive and difficult to get into. It's an Ivy League school. Of course, it's somebody in the chat there. Yeah.
MIT is probably easier to get to because it is technical school.
Yeah, you don't have to be the son of a senator or something.
Yeah.
Although some do aptitude tests, though, because you got to at least show you have the potential to be able to be in a tech field or something.
Yeah, to be useful.
Yeah.
You have to win the IQ lottery when you're born to get in like that.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
There's people that have gone really far in tech that.
Yeah. Tech field is filled with people who don't have a high IQ.
Well, I can understand that, but I don't know that's necessarily true.
Yeah, I was about to say everybody's jumping off the stream now. Everybody's thumbs down.
Well,
I'm not saying this crowd is probably high IQ since they watch DT, but yeah.
The YouTube chat, you guys are awesome, right?
Is that why they number the positions in these companies? Like system, or level 1 or 2.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's for progressing up the chain. Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that in my class how ID field is filled with not a lot of IQ people.
Well, I think
when you have a guy clicking OK with a mouse in a terminal, you know what's his IQ level.
But that might be just naivete, or just not knowing.
He used Linux before, so
now because
he just didn't think.
Now, because Big Pod is here for this chat today, you know one topic I always have to bring up when Big Pod is here, and I'm not talking about JavaScript. I'm talking about Microsoft this time, Big Pod. What is the deal with Linux Defender? Have you seen this? We're getting Defender on Linux.
Yeah, I heard of that. It's meant for servers, for when you have basically data coming in, it is directly checking it before it goes to systems, something in that vein. So it is server application, not client side.
Well, but they're also saying they're going to start building it for iOS and Android as well, which is
that's
a little strange.
Different application again.
Yeah,
sounds like a Trojan.
But it sounds like they just want
Probably not.
They want to infect every operating system, right?
No, it's mainly based on the fact that a lot of companies want to have Linux servers on their ranks, and
is it because
probably a big complaint?
Is it because Microsoft runs Linux
server?
Is it because Microsoft runs Linux on their servers? They need to have something like this.
My guess, no, because if they were running, they would already have it for internally. But believe me.
I mean, it kind of makes sense if they're going that direction, and especially if they're going to have things that are connected to their stuff. It kind of makes sense in some way.
Yeah.
In IoT field, they are heavily pushing Linux, so it actually makes a lot of sense, especially with something like their Azure Sphere OS, which is for IoT devices. They are quite pushing Linux, so thinking that they want to secure Linux systems isn't that far off.
Well, they kind of have to push.
That's how you create customers.
Whether they push Linux or not, that's where everybody was going to anyway. So
maybe they are actually adapting to the market rather than the market adapting.
Well, it's about money, right? If you want to make money, you have to do what your customers want.
Well,
right?
I mean, especially because they're not privately owned. They're a publicly traded company.
Yeah.
They have to do what customers and what owners want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got to keep. They got to keep that stock price, which
keep those happy.
Yeah.
High. Yeah, that's the end of the whole problem. They got to keep the stock price high.
Well, that's why they're $1 trillion company.
A lot of decisions are made by that. Mm-hmm. That's why there isn't free Windows, like an open source Windows, because of stock prices.
Well, you saw where the Free Software Foundation sent Microsoft a letter asking them to open source Windows 7.
They send them hard drives for that source code. My bet, they didn't send big enough. Didn't go for like that 12 terabyte drive you need.
And if you haven't been around Linux a number of years, the Free Software Foundation has done this before with past versions of Windows and some other Microsoft stuff. It's like, hey, you know what? Doesn't look like you really need XP anymore. Open source it. Vista's dead now. Open source it. Same thing with 7. They'll do the same thing with 10.
It's a lot. You they don't really want to, because a lot of the code goes from between 7 to 10, or actually from Vista to 10 there isn't actually a hell lot of change in the kernel wise. So they don't want to do that, because they basically open source every version of Windows.
And Microsoft basically just gave the finger to the Free Software Foundation, said, man, we already gave you the calculator. What more do you want?
They new projects that are free are are being open sourced a lot, but all projects I don't see them open sourcing, even if they are free currently.
The real question is, because we know it's coming any day now, I'm just waiting, and as soon as it comes out, I'm going to install it and try it out. we're going to have Microsoft Edge on Linux. Are they going to open source that, or are they going to keep that closed source?
Well, that's
no,
Chrome. That's using Chromium, isn't it?
Are they basing off of Chromium?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Chromium.
Well, that doesn't necessarily mean they have to open source everything, though.
That's true.
Vivaldi uses Chromium, and Vivaldi's proprietary.
Yep. Which is
I say it's better than Chromium. The Chromium Edge is better than plain Chromium, even security-wise. The trackers are dead.
You cut out there, but you were saying that the new Chromium-based Edge is better?
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe it's a bit faster for me, and you can basically disable all trackers possible. Basically, just set to a full security mode, and no trackers can get through.
Interesting.
Yeah,
because I hope they open source the browser on Linux, because they could actually get Edge to be the default browser on some distributions if it was just open source software. As long as it's proprietary software, it's kind of hard to put it. Most distros are not even going to put it in their repositories.
They'll probably make a distro around it.
Yeah, you could do Edge OS. Exactly.
That would be a fun one.
Yeah.
If that happens, I'm sorry, everyone.
Yeah. All right. You're laughing.
Let's not hope. Let's not hope Microsoft employee watches DistroTube.
Hey, Chrome did it. Let's do it. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't. Somebody had posted an article. I was in a Discord, and I think they posted an article or something that Google was telling people not to install the new Edge.
Oh, I saw that too. Yeah.
Yeah, but because it stops Google tracking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
as it should.
No tracking script survives the full mode.
But not even Microsoft's tracking.
Actually, websites don't load after the tracking is killed, because it's killed so quickly.
No. But every proprietary browser does that. Microsoft, with Internet Explorer and with Edge, warned you about running other browsers if you installed them. Chrome does it on my mobile device, on my Android phone. I have Brave, and it still asks me, hey, you sure you don't want to run Chrome? No, I don't. But I can't install Chrome because it's an Android phone. You just can't get rid of Chrome.
Yeah.
I'm right now jumping between Vivaldi and Chromium, because for some reason, and I think it might be the kernel I'm running, Firefox is giving me choppy video when I have it full screen, whether it's YouTube or any of the streaming services I watch.
That's strange.
Yeah.
I ran Firefox and it works great.
I did
What kernel are you running?
Arch Linux.
I did notice Netflix was broken on Firefox a couple of weeks ago in an Arch update. For those of you that were wondering about that, if you haven't figured out what the fix was, it was glibc. Was that the problem? I think it was. I think if you just downgraded the package to the previous version, you were good. Or you could do like me and watch Netflix in Brave instead of Firefox.
Or like me, don't even watch Netflix.
Well, that's an option as well. But
I got rid of Netflix and I'm using Amazon's Prime now, since I have Amazon Prime.
Yeah, how's that working for you?
I still watch normal TV.
Good, but the selection's not the same as Netflix. But you can find interesting things in it.
Yep.
The Man from Hightower, is it? I think it's a good episode.
Yeah, because I buy stuff from Amazon all the time, but I don't have Amazon Prime. And I was thinking the other day maybe I should, but I don't know if I'd even.
It could be worth it. Yeah. It can be depending how you use it, and if you order stuff, the shave on the shipping and all that stuff, it adds up.
Yeah, because I do, I place a couple of orders a month,
Well, you would probably get a lot of that if you do watch some things, Prime Video, could
You
pay
also
for
have the
itself there.
music library you can access as well. Got Prime.
Yep. Amazon Music's pretty good.
And you get a 10-day return. If you get a Prime product, you get a 10-day no questions asked return policy on it as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Wow. Okay.
I have Prime too.
Wow.
I bought a couple of used computers on there and I had a 10-day guarantee. No matter what, I could return it if I didn't like it.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, I'm like I said, I actually was thinking about that just a couple of days ago. That's why when you mentioned it, I was wondering.
In Canada, it cost $80 a year for me for Amazon Prime.
$80 a year.
80. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what they charge in the States for it.
It's about 100, I think now, maybe 120.
Yeah, but if I'm not paying shipping and I order a lot, I mean, it would probably pay for itself.
The hidden thing is that when you buy a Prime product, they add the shipping into the price of the product.
Yeah.
You'll find the products more expensive than the non-Prime product, but still you get the 2-day shipping and the
Well, and you also, I mean, you get that guarantee because sometimes if you have the non-Prime product, that's usually from a seller you don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
Taking a chance.
you're taking a chance. Yep.
Plus, you get access to Prime Pantry, which has a lot of good deals.
Yeah, they have specials that are only available to Prime members. At least once a year, they have a Prime Day, and you can get discounted items on it.
Run with the Dolphin is in the chat. He says live streaming is bloated. Use Morse code. Morse is bloat. We should just use telepathy. You know, the other thing is I got a lot of comments about that Sudo is bloated, use do as instead video. Is people are like, hey man, this video, is it a joke? Is this just a meme? Or is this all about the bloat meme? It's like bloat is not a meme. And Sudo being bloated is not a meme. There's a reason. There's a reason the OpenBSD guys created do as to get rid of Sudo. It's not just a meme. There are real reasons. It's like, man, but you're talking about such small differences, you know, 3.5 megabytes versus 33 kilobytes. I've got a 1 terabyte drive. That's not the point. It's not the...
Well, and actually that brings up an interesting topic too, because, you know, as technology has gotten more developed, it's gotten more wasteful in a lot of resources. It's like, it should be getting smaller because we should be more efficient.
And with these kinds of programs, because we're elevating our privileges on these systems, security should be a big thing. Which do you think has more vulnerabilities, you know, because of the attack vector? Something that is 33 megabytes or something that's 33 kilobytes? I mean, one of them, Big Pod, could probably audit the code, you know, read the entire code in a couple of days. It's all written in C. Big Pod knows C. But the other one that's, you know, 3 megabytes, no one person can ever audit that code. It's just, it's too much. So the bloat is not a meme. I'm just gonna.
Bloat is a meme. It's a huge meme.
In response to the actual thing.
Yeah. Well, the suckless guys would disagree with you, Big Pod, and so would the OpenBSD guys, and so would Void Linux. So
some guy one day actually asked me or said to me that SSH is bloat.
Well, I guess
less bloated would be to use Telnet with SSL than SSH.
And there's other ways to remote into your machine. I get that, but I've never checked on like the size of SSH. He may have a point. I don't know.
He just said, because why create a new protocol if you have a perfectly good old protocol? If you could just change the socket which it uses instead of web to use an SSL socket, it would work just as fine and it would be just as secure.
Yeah, is that true though? Is the security the same? Okay, that's the problem. The security wouldn't be the same.
Potentially it would be higher, but the problem becomes that the whole system of how you authenticate would be completely different and a hell of a lot more texting and hell of a lot more complicated to do. Because SSL uses certificates,
Right,
and
and
you need a
instead of the
certificate
keys.
authority,
Yeah.
and with SSH you have just a key that you share private key with one side, public key with the other side, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's basically what SSL does in the end, but there is a lot of craft around SSL. It is good for websites, but for such authentication, it's not good.
Well, everything is, I guess, can be considered bloated. It depends on how far you want to take it. I mean, people tell me Xterm is bloated, but Xterm is kind of a default terminal emulator on so many distros. Man, that's a terrible. Don't ever bring that up. That's bloat. And it's like,
ST is what, 200K? ST terminal, it's really small.
Well, it's small. Yeah, I don't know the exact size, but yeah, and versus Xterm, ST is much smaller, but so is a lot of other terminals.
Bloat is basically some people's opinion that certain functions of a program they don't use don't matter.
Here's the problem with the ST argument, though, and why I'll defend Xterm as far as not being bloated against something like ST. Yes, ST is much smaller. ST does not have scroll back by default. Can you imagine how frustrating it is to have a terminal emulator on your desktop and you can't scroll? That's insane. You have to patch it anyway. You have to start adding lines of code to it anyway to get the functionality you want. So what's the point?
Yeah.
I've been trying to find terminals that will run inside an AppImage, and I tried Terminator and all these other things, ST.
I believe that's really, really hard to do.
I finally found one called Sakura. Probably no one else has ever heard of, and I hadn't heard of it before.
No, I've heard.
The only one I could get to run inside an AppImage.
Yeah, I've heard of Sakura. I've installed it, played with it before.
It's run-of-the-mill decent. Does that sound right? Just your average terminal, nothing special, nothing bad.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's supposed to be a minimal terminal. I'm going to throw that word unbloated, right?
I think that's just subject to definition.
Yeah.
So is it just a problem with these terminal emulators just running in a container, or what's the?
Yeah.
Most programs are not designed to run in containers, so I've been trying to get them to run. I want to play an audio file in a container.
So is it actually the terminal? Is it the terminal that's the problem, or is it the shell that's the problem?
It's the AppImage running it in a container that's limited. Running it in AppImage, there are restrictions. You don't have access to all the files and folders you would have on your desktop, so you have to put the application binary in there, and then you have to find out the dependencies and put them in there, and then cross your fingers. Some of them will work, some of them won't, and I would say 7 out of 8 don't work. I tried to get an audio player, OGG 123, OGG 321, music, FPlay, SM player. None of them work inside the AppImage. I finally found MPlayer work. That was the only one I could do. So I've been good for the last 6 months. I've been going through all those types of things and finding the ones that work inside an AppImage. So now I can, when I need to play audio in an AppImage, I've got MPlayer I can put in without having to worry what's installed on the target machine.
Okay.
So right. Yeah. So it's the container itself limits what you can access.
Yeah, I'd never considered that. Bringing up a terminal in some kind of containerized environment.
Yeah, it's just a whole bunch of things.
I wonder how something I've never used it, Cubes OS. I wonder how that distribution handles that kind of stuff. Because isn't everything in its own sandbox.
Everything is its own virtual machine, so your head
that's
starts hurting really quickly.
That's right.
We'll find out next week from Big Daddy Linux. They're doing cubes, I think.
Is that what they're doing?
You won't hear anything from me, yeah.
No, I won't install it either. For one thing, you'd have to do it on physical hardware. There's no way I'm doing it on my main production machine. I might do it on a laptop. But you're right.
If your laptop doesn't have virtualization, it's no use.
Everything's a Zen hypervisor, isn't it?
Yeah, everything's its own virtual machine. So
yeah,
it's kind of crazy stupid.
For security reasons too. Why couldn't you just run the applications you want to sandbox? Why couldn't you just run them in FireGel or something when you need it instead of?
Well, that's what BSD users do with their jails.
Yeah. That seems like a much more sensible approach than having everything virtualized. I don't know.
Much more sensible and much more hardware and resource efficient.
Yeah. I mean, I could even set up an alias. Like if I always wanted my browser to be opened in FireGel, I mean, I could work that out. It would be strange. I don't see the point of Cubes OS for any kind of normal user anyway. I could never, people have asked me to review it on the channel too. I couldn't install it in a VM. You can't actually install cubes in a VM. Right, because it won't work.
It doesn't have virtualization.
Right, yeah. So I'd have to install it on physical hardware. Again, it's not touching this machine. I'd have to install it maybe on one of my laptops if I could get it installed. These machines are old, so it could be iffy.
It's RAM intensive as well.
Yeah, the basic requirements are 8 gigs of RAM.
Nah, I can't do it then. There's no way.
Yeah, can I?
That's at least requirements.
Because these tests
won't touch my desktop.
These test machines have 6 gigs. I mean, if they want 8 gigs, I mean, I could still try it, but
you probably couldn't install it, but still.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're coming up on the 2-hour mark. So let's get a last word from everybody on our way out. George, send us out with the last word, sir.
Sorry, drawing a blank.
That's all right. Hit you with that pretty quick, right? You weren't expecting it. We can skip you and come back to you, George, if you need.
Come back to me. Yes.
We'll hit you last then. Willie, give us the last word, sir.
Yeah. All right, guys. Take care. I'll see you next month.
Thanks, Willie. Thanks for hanging out. Murray, give us the last word.
I'll do something entirely different. I'll leave you with a number.
Okay.
You've got Google. There's another Google. It's called GOOGOL. That's 10 to the power of 100. And the significance of that is that's the end of the universe. When nothing more happens in the universe, everything's evaporated away. Planets, the stars, the interstellar gas, black holes are the last to go. Nothing is happening in the universe after 10 to 100 years, era of one Google. So I'll leave you on that.
Very optimistic message there to end the.
Yeah.
All right.
At least they think that. We can be sure because there is no one who's around that.
All right. Derek, give us the last word.
Would it be okay to plug my channel?
Absolutely.
Right? Check me out on the Papal Penguin. Just do a search on YouTube. I'm going to be working on some more videos coming up. Look forward to doing it.
Let me see if I can link to your channel in the YouTube chat here, and I will post it.
Thank you.
And Big Pod, are you doing anything on your channel, or?
I don't know yet.
We got to get more content from you.
Yeah, I have 10 videos. That's about it. We'll see.
Yeah, but how long have you been on YouTube? Not that long.
Yeah, doing Linux for what? About a couple of months, maybe a year max.
Yeah. So that's not too bad.
Thank you for having me today, Derek, and see you all next month.
Yeah, these are fun. course, my last word, of course, is thanking these guys, George, Willie, Murray, Derek, and Big Pod for joining me on camera. And I want to thank you guys still hanging out in the YouTube chat. We got a bunch of you still hanging out. And I need to thank the patrons that could not be here. So I'm going to throw some names up on the screen here. These guys, want to thank each and every one of those folks. And I will see you guys the next time we do one of these. All right, guys. Peace. Everybody wave bye.
I'm waving.
All right.
I'm waving too. Edge OS. That's my last word.